once you start having kids, a lot of times when I talk to parents, and so many parents can relate to this, is traveling and taking vacation is the least on your mind when you start having kids, because you're thinking about, how do I pack like five different bags? How do I cope with having to, if my child is a picky eater, how do I now, if I think I'm not in my comfort zone and I will not have the different types of food that this child is going to want, how do I cope with that? So I think, hi everyone, welcome to Bridge Tribe. I'm a YouTuber based in United States, and on this channel I bring you intentional parenting, motherhood, lifestyle, wealth creation, and everything fun. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about everything I did to prepare my kids for their first trip to Nigeria. Oh my God. I was every video or every conversation I had prior to going to Nigeria with my kids was, oh, I had to take food to Nigeria for my kids before going to Nigeria. My kids were sick when they went to Nigeria. Like, there were so many experiences, so many people told me different things, and I was really worried about this trip. So here are some of the things that I did to prepare my kids, because I really didn't want a terrible experience. I was worried about them falling sick. So I had to think of, how do I prepare them? How do I build their immunity? How do I make this experience as easy for me as possible? So let's get into the video. Okay. Come and fly away with me. Come and fly away with me. So, I've always like seen kids who come from America. Like, I've seen a couple, and in my honest opinion, I've heard people say, "Oh my God, like I cannot raise my kids in America. American kids are spoiled. American kids don't have respect. There were just so many negatives about the experiences of most people. So earlier, a long time ago, when I decided to start intentional parenting, one of the things I thought to myself was, if I raise my children well, or if I teach my children, I will be the one to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Okay, so fruit of my labor, as it relates to ease of travel, ability to adapt to different situation, ability to cope. So the first thing we did as a family was, number one, we started to teach travel a lot as a family. So I incorporated travel as one of the things that I taught my kids. We started to travel even when my youngest daughter was about like 4 months old. We would take road trips, trips to Florida, Disney World, flights, short visit, short flights, longer flights, we would take all of that. So I noticed that, as at the beginning, I also used to be very scared of flying. Like, I have a phobia for heights, and my son as well has has a phobia for heights, right? My daughter would, she had absolutely no fear. Even my baby had absolutely no fear. But my son, he would always be scared. Like, when we fly, that time when the plane would take off, like, that fear. I used to be very, very scared. So traveling a lot really eased my mind and helped me. So imagine the kind of confidence it also built for my kids. I taught them like how to comport themselves. Like, when we take trips like that, I would take books. I would take especially books they would read on the plane. So it kind of taught them how to cope in these scenarios. I would always have people tell me when we take flights, like, oh my God, your children are so calm, your children are so well behaved. So it really paid off. Those short flights paid off for me, and it was a way that I got them ready for the eventual 16-hour flights to Africa. Now, the second thing I did that I was very intentional about was teaching them the culture and practicing the culture in my home. Now, there's no way that if you're not practicing something in your house, that you're going to take your kids outside and they're going to be able to adapt to what they see. So, practicing the culture in my home and teaching them like the traditional foods was one of the things that really helped me, because I remember that everybody, most people that I would ask, they would tell me, "Oh, I'm going to Africa, so I have to like ship the water, ship the food, all of that." And I was like, "Do you know the financial commitment that I now like?" I'm all about wealth creation. I'm all about, good financial decisions. So I'm like, if I ship food to Africa, that I'm going to be so stressed. I'm going to be so stressed. How am I going to survive? So I'm like, no, no, no. I'm going to teach these kids how to eat spicy food. We taught them how to eat spicy food. I'm like, no, these are traditional food. You're going to be able to eat your swallow. You're going to be able to eat your beans. You're going to be able to. So every time I used to always say to myself, I said, if I go to Nigeria, I don't want to be stressed though. I don't want these children to stress me at all. I want them to just like smoothly, be able to adapt to everything they did. So teaching them and just, practicing that in my home was really, really very helpful. Another thing, the third thing was I saw that a lot of people were worried about, or I was also worried about, that they were gonna fall sick, right? So mosquitoes, oh my God, I was worried that they were gonna come back and be very sick, and that really helped me. That one of the things that I did to prepare against that was the healthy food that I give them, building their immunity, right? So I saw that they really had very, very strong immune system based off of the food that we give them. Now my children rarely eat junk, right? They rarely eat take sodas, they rarely eat, like in a year it's possible that I would never buy pizza, right? Because I'm a fitness coach, I eat healthy, I exercise, and I've been able to teach my children to live that same healthy lifestyle. So I think that was very significant. That really helped them. That one thing, it was like a lot of mosquito bites, like a lot of mosquito bites. Another thing that helped me was my neem oil, guys. Neem oil is would repel mosquitoes and will help like with all of those, like if you spray it. So I sprayed it around the room back in Nigeria, so the mosquito bites were not that bad, and I would just try to rub it on their skins so slightly. And for me, I would drink neem, right? So neem is an anti-malaria herb, so it really, really helped me. I know that I can tell you that neem was one of the things that really, really helped me help my immunity. Another thing I also did was, now going back to the flights, right? We broke up the flights because it was a long flight. I didn't want them to just like be all cramped up for a very, very long time. So I actually, for this first experience for them, we broke up the journey. Like we had a stopover because I didn't just want it to be a straight flight. I feel that also helped because it gave them like a time to get off the plane and walk around and explore. And I had people telling me on the plane, I felt so proud. Like one lady said, "Oh my God, your kids are so well behaved." Like the shoulder pad that I just felt like 10 extra shoulder pad when they were telling me, "Oh my God, your kids are just reading on the plane. Your kids are just so calm on the plane." I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I did that anyway. And the lady was like, "Do they travel a lot?" And I said, "Yes, they do travel a lot." So I think that all those short trips, flights, vacations that we took really, really helped a lot with my kids. Now, another thing about, exposing your children to short travel experience is it's like you taking a fish out of water. Like, because the fish isn't used to it before, they're gonna struggle, right? So once once you start having kids, a lot of times when I talk to parents, and so many parents can relate to this, is traveling and taking vacation is the least on your mind when you start having kids, because you're thinking about, how do I pack like 5 different bags? How do I cope with having to, if my child is a picky eater, how do I now, if I think I'm not in my comfort zone and I will not have the different types of food that this child is going to want, how do I cope with that? So I think a lot of people, or a lot of parents, eliminate travel from, their family lifestyle, and that really impacts the child. Like, travel is a part of exposure and education, and I think it's very, very helpful in how your children relate, how exposed they are. So in the beginning, when we actually started to travel as a family, it was like I had to push myself out of my comfort zone. But that was how I was able to now develop, involving the kids in the whole travel process. Because initially I would pack the bags. It was already overwhelming having to pack bags for each child, having to, so I had to put my foot down. My son is a really, really very picky eater, but over the years I've won. Let me just say I won that battle with my African parenting skills. But that has helped me, that no matter where we find ourselves, like sometimes we there was a time we traveled to Tennessee by road, and then we got there, like we couldn't get food, and we went to this restaurant. I think it was an Ethiopian restaurant, and we didn't even understand the food. But my children just, whatever they could find, they would eat. So, but it didn't start like that. It took, consistent teaching, consistent implementation for them to get to that level where anywhere we take them to, they will smoothly just adapt to it. So I think it's very important for most parents who would struggle with travel to kind of think about those things that you're going to have to implement, because in the long run it's going to help you. So that's how I see most of the things that I do, that okay, I'm implementing it now because I know that 5 years later this thing is going to help me. So teaching them how to accept food, because what if I'm not there? I'm not always going to be there, right? We are not going to be there as parents every time. Will my children be able to adapt to any situation they find themselves? Those are the kind of self-sufficient children I want to raise, that will grow into adults, and that they will be self-sufficient and independent. And as we continue to travel, what we did was, I taught everybody to pack their own bags, like they will pack their own suitcases, and then I'll just come and just look. So that kind of eased the tension or the stress on me every time we thought about travel, or else, you just end up canceling every trip and you will never help them build that experience. So I think that was an essential part when we eventually went to Africa, because it really, really helped my children. Now, another thing that everybody kept talking about was how they didn't think that they were better than anybody else. Like, the cousins that were in Nigeria, my kids were washing the dishes, they were sweeping the house. Like, they didn't think that they were better than, and they were well behaved. My mom kept like saying, "Oh my God," because my youngest daughter, she has never been to Nigeria before. She was born in the United States, and the way that girl blended with everything was so mind blowing. I just felt at the end of the trip, I was just like, oh my God, thank you. See, guys, intentional parenting works. It might be tough right now, but when you look at the rewards when they play out in front of you 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 years later, you'll be like, yes, thank God I was able to do this. So that that was some of the things that I taught my kids over time that really helped them. And having been back, one thing I wanted to watch the kids and see if they were going to fall sick, or if we're going I was going to take them to the hospital, but none of that has happened. So I think that immunity played a huge role in that as well. And I'm just so grateful. And of all of it, it was just God. And I just thank God, because I can't imagine how stressful that trip would have been if the kids had stressed me. So that's how preparing the kids for Nigeria went. And then when it came to what did I pack for them, there's going to be another video where I'm going to show you everything I packed on the trip that really helped the kids. In our next video. So if you have any experience that will help a fellow mom or someone who is planning a trip to Nigeria, please drop it in the comment, because it would really, really be helpful. And share this video, comment, like the video, share your experience. Well, how was it the first time you took your kids to Nigeria? Was it overwhelming? How did you feel? What was the experience for them? All right. Yes. So bye guys. Come and fly